Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please go ahead and hit the subscription button and hit the bell to be notified when I come out with new videos, so you don't miss any of the content. Yes. As you can see, the title of this video is Overcoming the Trauma of Childhood Bullying. I have all my talking points down here because I don't want to miss anything. I want to start with my background story. I am Nigerian American. I came to the U.S. I identify myself as a Nigerian American. I came to the U.S. at the age of 7, so you would consider me a half generation because I wasn't born in the U.S. I was born in Nigeria, but I was raised in the U.S. and everything I know, can recall from childhood, everything was most basically American. So that's why I identify myself as a Nigerian American, just for the background story. So I came here at the age of 7 years old. I didn't really have an idea. I had my ideas of America. Most people that live in other countries that are considered developing have an idea of what America is. I recall looking up to the plains and knowing that I was going to come to America because while I was in Nigeria, my father lived in America, and soon after, at the age of 6, my mom went ahead and came to the U.S., and at the age of 7, I went and joined my family in the U.S. So my expectations of America I didn't really have any negative expectations, honestly. All my expectations was really positive, seeing my parents, being with my family. But starting school, I really was, it was really, I never really saw myself as an African. Like that wasn't my mode of thinking. I lived in a place where everybody was black. So it wasn't like, oh, you feel like othered in any way. So coming to the U.S. and starting school, starting second grade, really was the big eye opener as to the fact that I am African. I never thought of myself, oh yeah, you're an African girl. I always just thought you're a girl, and if anything, because back then I was taken aback by my personal experience. And also, this is an experience that's shared by countless half generation and first generation Africans, whether you're Nigerian American or Ghanaian American or any all the different types of African, and with the American in it, of course, because if you were born here, most of us identify as Americans as well. My expectation wasn't that somebody who looked like me would be the one to make me feel less than, if you understand what I'm going with this. I didn't really see myself as an African until other people that in my mind looked like me othered me as an African. My bullying experience was not by my white counterparts or Spanish counterparts. It was by African American students. I lived in what one would consider the hood. So the school that I went to was, I guess, in a urban area, that in a hood, quote unquote hood area. So that was my experience. I remember being called all type of things, and disregard the smile on my face because this was a very hard time in my life. It was a very trying time in my life because when you're experiencing bullying, you feel isolated. You feel your self-esteem is down there. It's down in the dumps. You feel like you can't tell anyone, because me personally, I didn't tell my parents that I was being bullied. I didn't tell any family members that I was being bullied. And the bullying that I experienced was more towards emotional abuse opposed to physical. I was never jumped. I was never hit or anything like that. But I had things thrown at me. I was called names like African booty scratcher, or people asking me like, oh, did I did I wrestle tigers, and did I have a lion as a pet, and did I live on trees? And people, because academically back, I tried to be a very good student. I always try to excel in academics, and people always questioned my intelligence as to the fact that I came from Africa, and said, oh, kind of questioning why I was, I don't want to say smart, but let's just use the word smart, because that's what kids, oh yeah, she's smart, okay, he's smart. But being questioned as to why do you know so much English, when obviously because they don't know that the national language of Nigeria is English. Or people questioning, or saying, oh, you, like, kind of saying, oh, it must be nice to be enclosed, like microaggressions. And me not understanding why the people that looked most like me were the one that was targeting me the most. This took a lot of time of healing, a lot of time of self-reflection and understanding history, as to just a lot of understanding. I had to come from a space of understanding before I was able to get to a space of forgiving. If you follow me so far. So I'm just looking down at my notes. There was a time and place in which I tried my best to separate myself from just Africa. Though I recall a time and place in which I didn't want to be identified as an African. I didn't want to be looked at as an African. I didn't want to be thought of as an African, because that equated something that was negative, because it was spoken to me as it was negative. I was made fun of for my accent. I was made fun of for my name. I was made fun of my skin color. I was made fun of by people that looked like me. I also wanted to mention that I didn't feel comfortable going natural, because currently, as you guys know, I have sister locks, but before I got sister locks, I was natural for 5 years. I wanted to go natural way before I left high school, but knowing or having the experience that girls that were natural were made fun of by other Black folks and called all these kind of names. Even though I desired to go natural, I knew that doing it within that space that I was in, wasn't something that I felt comfortable with, because of my past experiences with bullying. And I didn't understand it. And there was like a level of hurt that I held on to for a very, very long time. Towards a group of people, because of the hurt that I experienced. And it took a lot of time and understanding, and then followed by self-reflection, self-love, and forgiveness. And also, I'm going to go into prayer and stuff, because prayer had played a lot of part in me, because I'm a religious person, and I had to pray for God to release them from my heart. And I had to pray to have the heart of forgiveness, because okay, I'm gonna bring it back and kind of explain to you how long I was bullied for. I was bullied from the age, let's do grade, from like second grade all the way to high school. So you would say, so second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. So about 6 years of my life, I was heavily bullied. And I'm not talking about light bullying, I'm talking about heavy bullying, as in I was followed by groups of people while walking by myself, had things thrown at me while I was being called names. And a lot of this is traumatic. We don't identify bullying in our society as a traumatic event, and it's traumatic. And with any trauma, there is things that are associated, like things that happen to you, things that like results of that trauma, and that is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. There are things that you experience in your adulthood, because there's a lot of people who do not resolve childhood traumas and they carry it into adulthood, and that can dictate so many different things, so many different outcomes of what your life looks like. And I didn't even realize that it was affecting me in my life until I directly addressed the issue of acknowledging the fact that it really hurt me, and that it really made me feel less than. And it took a lot of self-building for me to get to a space in which I'm proud of what and where I come from. And it's a lot. It's a lot of unpacking. It was at the age of 20. This is recent. It hit like recently that I came to a space of realizing that I was still holding on to this hurt. I think I was like 23, 24, and I came across one of the individuals that were my tormentors. They tormented me, one of them. And I came across, I saw him, because I still live in the same neighborhood. Unfortunately, as a result, you still see some of those same old people that you went to school with. And I saw this particular individual that really made it his life purpose to acknowledge the fact that I didn't have the latest Jordans or the latest Nike shoes, or made it known that I was the African kid in the school. And I remember coming across, seeing him, and all these feelings started to just well up. Like I had such hatred at that point. I had such hatred for him in that moment. And all those feelings of when I was a kid, I kind of just went back into that insecure kid, insecure child. I went back into that bubble of just being that bullied kid. And I didn't realize this until I saw this person, and I realized that I still hadn't forgiven and gotten over what I had went through. And I didn't even realize on what level it affected me in my day-to-day life, in the things and how I perceived myself and my self-esteem. It was a lot. I had to come to terms with the trauma that I experienced. I had to approach it with a spirit of understanding, because the question I always asked was, why me? Like, why was I targeted? Because I felt targeted. I recall I felt targeted as in like, why is it so bad to be an African? Like, why is that an issue? I didn't understand it. I recall having a friend who she was my best friend back in the day, and she was also African, but she didn't have an accent, and she didn't necessarily look like an African girl, and she chose to not disclose that she was African. And even though she was one of the only people that were my friend back in the day, she wouldn't even utter the fact that she was an African, because she knew what it meant. She knew what it what it meant. That it meant being ridiculed. It meant being bullied, being teased, being basically borderline tortured by other students who had a problem with you being African. And what I came to kind of like terms with it by realizing that what it meant from an African American experience to be African, or to be identified with Africa historically in this country, and how the narrative of Africa has always been negative, and how the narrative of Africa has always been of something that is less than, or something that is impoverished, and something that is subservient. And once I realized that this is generations worth of a narrative that's being perpetuated, I understood what the hatred towards Africa was, and how people who were kind of on a level programmed to hate a whole continent are being presented with somebody who's a representation of that continent, and feeling like they had to kind of separate it from their own personal identity to feel like they were not less than, because the narrative that's been perpetuated is that this continent, these people from this continent was less than. I mean, look at the history of slavery, of being thought of as half a person, of not being encouraged, like being stopped from pursuing education. Even after the slavery was abolished, the systematic oppression that was experienced by this group of people for generations. When you look when you watch movies in America about Africa, you see poverty, you see famine, you see you see all these negative connotations. And why wouldn't somebody who this is all their experience, or all their understanding of this places, why wouldn't they feel a level of wanting to other people from there? Like I said, it came to a space. I had to come to a lot of space of coming outside of myself and putting myself in. And this is not in any way excusing the behavior of bullying, because bullying is an issue, and I'm going to talk about how you can combat bullying and see the warning signs for if you what to do if you are experiencing bullying currently, or what to do if you suspect your child is being bullied, or if you're a teacher or a principal, or whatever the case may be. You work in a educational institution, and you have to know the signs of bullying, and we have to implement early intervention, because bullying can result in lifelong traumas for people who experience it on a severe level. Because for me, I didn't experience bullying on a physical level, but it was on an emotional level. But for others, they experience bullying on both emotional and physical level, as in being physically assaulted. So I want you to think of bullying as the problem that it is, and that anti-bullying movements has to continue. No child should feel like they don't want to go to school or obtain their education because they are afraid of being abused in the space in which they're supposed to obtain their education. It's not fair. For me, I felt, or I see that I escaped my bullying experience by going from a general education courses into magnet slash honors courses. Because once I switched, I was moved into an honors program. I experienced no, that's when my bullying ended, because I no longer was experiencing bullying. And unfortunately, I'm in a space of thinking now, because of my experience, that I, and my desire not to have my kids have those same experiences, of wanting to not put my kids in public school institutions. And that's how I feel right now. That may change in the future, but that's how I feel right now, because of how, my push towards education. Because initially, when I first started, I was in second grade. I was teased as being that, oh, you're the teacher's pet, or what do you think, you're white, because of your pursuit for education. And there was a time that I kind of started to kind of dumb myself down, because I didn't want to be identified as a teacher's pet. But there was a point that I kind of, things just clicked in my head, like, no, you can't do this. Once I realized education was a way out, I started to apply myself even more than I was doing before, because I saw education as kind of like the way out. This has been very long-winded, but I just wanted to hit you with some statistics so that you really understand how this is a huge, huge problem in our public school institutions, in our educational institutions. 90% of students in grades from grades 4 to 8 report having been harassed and bullied. 90% from grades 4 to 8. 90% of students from grades 4 to 8 report being harassed and being bullied. 28% of students from grades 6 to 12 experience bullying. From grades 6 to 12, 9% experience cyberbullying. According to the National Education Association, over 160,000 kids refuse to go to school each day because of fear of being bullied. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Bullying can affect you. It can have long-term psychological effects on you, on self-esteem, on things you decide to do in the future, your pursuits. So if you are if I've experienced bullying, you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it. If you have to go as far as getting therapy, I would encourage it. But you need to unhash those feelings. Building one's self-esteem is it's a years of working. Because after years of hearing voices telling you that you're less than, truly feeling in here that you are worthy is not a 1-2 process. It's a lifelong working. So if you're being bullied, I want to encourage you to, if you have a trustworthy adult in your life, you need to let them know. I personally was afraid. Now thinking back, I don't even know why I was afraid to tell my parents, because it was like I was ashamed, because there's a shame in it. There's a shame associated with, oh, you don't want people to know. You don't, like, even your loved ones. Because I never told my parents that I was bullied. I never told anybody that I was bullied. I just endured it until it ended. And I don't want anybody to have to endure being bullied, or feel like just feel like there's nothing they can do about it. There's kids that commit suicide. There's kids that choose to end their own lives because of bullying, because they're being bullied and harassed. People are bullied about their skin color, about their race, about their height, about their weight, about any and everything you can think of. And this mentality of kids will be kids is not okay, and it's perpetuating the problem, which is bullying. Kids don't have to be mean. And if you are noticing, you see bullying as a member of a educational institution, you have to intervene. You have to implement anti-bullying. You have to have anti-bullying agenda within your within the structure of your schooling. It has to be part of the culture that bullying is not tolerated. Not just something a sticker you put on the wall, but something that you daily you are implementing by setting examples of people that bully and the repercussions that are associated with being somebody who bully. And also providing mental health support for kids who are victims of bullying. I also wanted to insert that also providing mental health support for for kids who bully, because kids who bully usually most of the time are experiencing something in their life, in their household, that's making them feel bad, and they are, as a virtue of transference, trying to kind of like take the weight of their experiences out on somebody else. So mental health support is needed not only for victims of bullying, but also people who bully, because they could be victims themselves in their lives as well. A lot needs to change within the school institutions. And if you are in school right now, or whether you're in your workplace and you feel like you are being bullied or you're being targeted, you need to tell somebody. You need to take action. You shouldn't have to endure it. You shouldn't have to take it in. If you have any experiences of being bullied, go ahead and share your experiences in the description bar. As you can see right now, today I am rocking a shirt which is representative of where I'm from, Nigeria. It took a lot of reclaiming for me to be happy, or for me to be proud of where I come from. I had to really understand, or really come out. It was after that experience that I really got into my music, my culture, my language, every single thing. Once I realized that there was nothing to be ashamed of, and that I should hold where I am from and who I am with pride, that's when I really was able to truly embrace the person that I am. And I'm still embracing it, and it's still a working, and it will be a forever working of self-love, of self-acceptance, and whatever that looks like. And there's the ups, and there's the downs, and there's the self-loving, and there's the, oh man, like kind of like a rehashing of past traumas. But all of it is important. You got to acknowledge what you experienced. You got to forgive those people who did it, because you holding on to that hate in your heart doesn't help. It does not help you. And if you're religious, for me, praying about it really helped. I truly prayed about it and really just asked God to truly give me the spirit of forgiveness, to be able to forgive these people. And after I did all this, I felt better. It's like the biggest weight being lifted. So I encourage you to forgive, to talk about it, and to pray about it. I thank you so much for watching. And again, don't forget to share your experience. Share this video, like this video, and if you like this kind of content, let me know. Show me some love. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.